My name is Isaiah Thompson, but my friends call me Zay. I'm 71 years old. For the last 5 years, my only daughter, Kimberly, forgot to invite me for Thanksgiving. I guess she thought I didn't fit in with her new life. But this year, she didn't just forget Thanksgiving. She showed up at my front door on a Tuesday morning. She wasn't alone. She brought her husband, Jason, and two strangers in expensive suits. They came to tell me I was old, confused, and needed to be put in a home. They came to take everything. They thought I was just a lonely old retired mailman from the south side of Chicago. They thought I had no one. But what they didn't know is that I wasn't the one who was alone. And as they handed me the papers to sign away my life, I looked right past them at the two figures standing silently in my hallway. The figures they couldn't see yet. They thought they were bringing my end, but they had just walked right into theirs. Before I tell you exactly what happened next and who was standing in that hallway, I want to hear from you. Let me know in the comments where you're listening to this story from. And please hit that like and subscribe button if you believe that underestimating your elders is the last mistake you should ever make. It all started this past Tuesday, 10 in the morning. I was in the kitchen washing out my coffee mug, the same one my late wife Evelyn gave me 20 years ago. The sunlight was streaming into my small, quiet house in Bronzeville. It was peaceful. Then the doorbell rang, not the friendly ring of a neighbor. It was a hard, impatient press. I dried my hands and walked to the door. I looked through the peephole, and my heart dropped just a little. It was Kimberly, my daughter, and her husband, Jason. In the 5 years since they moved to that fancy suburb, they'd only visited twice, and never, ever, unannounced. I opened the door. The smile on my face was genuine for a second. Kim, Jason. What a surprise! But the surprise soured quick. They weren't smiling. Kimberly looked anxious. Jason just looked annoyed, like he was smelling something bad. And they weren't alone. Standing slightly behind them were two white people I'd never seen before. A man in a suit that probably cost more than my first car, holding a leather briefcase. He looked like a shark. Beside him, a woman in a severe pantsuit holding a clipboard, her expression cold and clinical. "Dad," Kimberly said. "No hi, Dad, no hug, just Dad." Her voice was thin. "We need to talk. Can we come in?" I stepped back. Of course, come on in." They filed past me. Jason didn't even look at me. He was already scanning my living room, his eyes flicking over the furniture Evelyn and I had picked out decades ago. The shark man and the clipboard woman followed their shoes, making loud, intrusive sounds on my hardwood floors. "This is Mr. Vance, our lawyer," Kimberly said, gesturing to the man. "And this is Ms. Albright from Senior Care Solutions." A lawyer, Senior Care Solutions. My blood, which had been warm from the coffee, turned to ice. "Have a seat," I said, gesturing to the sofa. They sat, all four of them on the sofa in chairs facing me. It wasn't a visit. It was an intervention, or an interrogation. "Dad," Kimberly started again, twisting the strap of her designer purse. We're worried about you." "Worried?" I asked. "I just had my checkup. Dr. Evans said I'm healthier than most men half my age." Jason scoffed, a quiet, ugly sound. "Dad, please," Kimberly said, ignoring him. "Living alone, this big house, it's too much for you." This house. This small two-bedroom bungalow. Big Jason leaned forward. "Zay," he said. He always called me Zay, never Dad. He said it made him uncomfortable. "Zay, we need to be realistic. This place is, well, it's falling apart. Look at that crack in the ceiling." I looked up. It was a hairline crack that had been there for 10 years. "That's just the house settling, Jason." "It's neglect," Jason snapped, "and the neighborhood. It's not safe for an elderly man." This neighborhood, Bronzeville. The heart of our history. I'd lived here my entire life. I knew every person on this block. "I feel perfectly safe, son." "That's the problem," the clipboard woman, Ms. Albright, suddenly spoke. Her voice was sharp like breaking glass. "Mr. Thompson, is it Isaiah Thompson?" "Zay," I said. "My friends call me Zay." "I'm not your friend," she said, not blinking. "Mr. Thompson, your family has reported several incidents." "Incidents?" I looked at Kimberly. Her face was pale. She wouldn't meet my eyes. "What incidents, Kim? What did you tell them?" Ms. Albright looked at her clipboard. "According to my file, you've been exhibiting signs of cognitive decline, confusion, memory loss." "What?" I stood up. "That's a lie. Who said that?" "Dad, just listen," Kimberly pleaded. "It's for your own good." Ms. Albright continued, her voice a monotone drone. "Mr. Thompson, do you know what day it is today?" My God, they were serious. "It's Tuesday, October 22nd, I said, my voice hardening. "And do you know who the president is?" "I know who the president is. I'm 71, not senile." "Do you often forget to turn off the stove?" She pressed on. "Never." "Have you found yourself lost in familiar places?" "No." "Do you sometimes forget the names of family members?" I stared at her. Then I stared at Kimberly. The audacity. The disrespect. I had changed her diapers. I had taught her how to read. And she was sitting there letting this stranger treat me like a child. Jason, seeing he was losing control, decided to escalate. He stood up and started walking around the living room, touching things. This old TV, probably not even high definition. And these chairs, threadbare. This place is a fire trap. He ran a finger along a bookshelf. "Dusty. You can't keep up with it, Zay." "There's nothing wrong with my house," I said, my voice low and dangerous. "And my name is Dad to you, boy, or Mr. Thompson." Jason's face flushed. He was not used to being challenged, especially by me. He turned to the lawyer, Vance. "This is what we were talking about. See, aggression, confusion. He's in denial. Mr. Vance, I think it's time." The shark, Mr. Vance, finally spoke. He opened his briefcase with a soft, expensive click. "Mr. Thompson," he said, his voice smooth as oil, "your family loves you very much." I almost laughed. "That's why they're here. They are deeply concerned that you are no longer capable of managing your personal or financial affairs." He pulled out a sheaf of papers. "This," he said, sliding the first document across my coffee table, "is a durable power of attorney. It grants your daughter, Mrs. Reed, full legal authority over your finances, your property, and your medical decisions." I looked at the paper. My name was already typed on it, waiting for a signature. "And this," he said, sliding a second, thicker document over, "is an application for voluntary admission to the Silver Pines Senior Living Community, a very high-end facility." "A nursing home." I said, the words tasting like ash. "A luxury community," Vance corrected me. "Your family has already put down a deposit on a private room for you." They had put down a deposit. They were so sure. "You want me to sign myself into a nursing home and give my daughter control of everything I own," I summarized. "Just like that." "It's the simplest way, Dad," Kimberly said, her voice now pleading. "We can sell this house, use the money to pay for Silver Pines. You'll be safe. You'll have activities." "I have activities," I said. "I have my garden. I have my friends at the diner. I have my life." "That life is over, Dad," she snapped. The mask of the worried daughter fell away. Her face was hard, frustrated. "We can't keep worrying about you. Jason and I have our own lives." And there it was, the truth. I wasn't a father to be loved. I was a problem to be managed. A burden. I looked at the papers. I didn't touch them. "No," I said. Just one word. Jason's face turned purple. "What did you say?" I said, "No. I am not signing these. I am not going to a nursing home, and I am not giving you control of my money. Now I'd like you all to leave my house." Vance, the lawyer, sighed as if I were the one being difficult. "Mr. Thompson, I was hoping you wouldn't take this route. Your family didn't want this to be contentious." "Then they shouldn't have brought a lawyer to my house to try and steal it," I shot back. Vance smiled a thin, cold smile. "You misunderstand the situation, sir. Your signature is the voluntary option. There is an involuntary option." He tapped his briefcase. "We have already filed a petition with the court for an emergency guardianship hearing. We have Ms. Albright's professional assessment." He gestured to the clipboard woman who was busy scribbling notes. "Probably subject is hostile. And we have sworn affidavits from your daughter and son-in-law attesting to your rapid mental decline." "You're lying," I whispered, looking at Kimberly. "You signed an affidavit against me." Kimberly stood up, her face a mask of cold justification. "We had to, Dad. You're not the man you used to be. You're confused. You're paranoid. The court will see that." "So that's the play," I said, finally understanding. "This whole visit was a performance, to provoke me, to get Ms. Albright to write down that I'm aggressive, to build your case." Vance steepled his fingers. "The hearing is in 2 days, Mr. Thompson. The judge will grant the petition. They almost always side with the family. When that happens, you will be moved to Silver Pines against your will. Your assets will be frozen and control will be granted to Mrs. Reed. All of this becomes hers. He gestured around my small, clean living room. So I'll ask you one last time, Vance said, pushing the papers closer to me. Sign them voluntarily and maintain some small shred of your dignity, or be forced by a court order. The outcome is the same. I looked at them, the lawyer, the expert, my son-in-law, and my daughter, the four of them united, ready to destroy me. I looked at Kimberly, at the little girl I taught to ride a bike, the girl I took to the planetarium, the girl I walked down the aisle. Her eyes were hard, empty. There was no love there, only impatience. The threat hung in the air, thick and suffocating. Sign or we destroy you. They were so sure they had won. They thought I was old, poor, and alone. They had no idea who I really was. I looked at the papers. I looked at the four of them. They expected me to fall apart. They wanted me to cry. They wanted me to beg. They had come here to see the confused, aggressive old man they had described to this clipboard woman. They were about to be severely disappointed. I didn't touch the papers. I just pushed them back across the coffee table with one finger. "This is a serious matter," I said. My voice didn't shake. It was as calm and steady as it had been for 35 years delivering mail through Chicago winters. "I'll need some time to think about this." Kimberly started to object. "Dad, the hearing is in 2 days. You don't have time to—" "I'll need time," I repeated, cutting her off. "And I will need to call my lawyer." There was a moment of pure dead silence. Then Jason let out a sharp, ugly bark of a laugh. He looked at Kimberly, then at Mr. Vance, as if I had just told the best joke in the world. "His lawyer," he sneered, not even trying to hide his contempt. Kimberly actually rolled her eyes. "Dad, please don't be dramatic. What lawyer? The guy at the diner who writes wills for $50. This is the big leagues. Mr. Vance here is a senior partner." Jason leaned in, his smile gone. "Yeah, Zay, what are you gonna do? Pay him with your pension check. Just sign the papers. Stop making this harder than it needs to be." They saw me as a joke, a broke retired mailman. Good. That's exactly what I had spent years letting them see. "You've said what you came to say," I said, standing up. It was a clear dismissal. "You can show yourselves out." Mr. Vance gathered his papers, clearly annoyed that I hadn't folded immediately. Ms. Albright just looked disgusted, scribbling furiously on her clipboard. "Subject is non-compliant and exhibits signs of paranoia," I'm sure she wrote. Kimberly stood up, her face flushed with anger. "One day, Dad, we'll be back tomorrow, and if you don't sign, we will use the court order." They left. I heard their footsteps echo down the hall. I heard my front door slam shut. I stood in the silence of my living room for a long time. The house felt violated. I walked to the window, pulling back the curtain just enough to see them. They piled into Jason's shiny white BMW, Kimberly gesturing angrily, Jason hitting the steering wheel. They sped off, a streak of arrogant white paint disappearing down the street I had walked for a living. I looked around my living room, my home. Jason saw neglect. He saw old furniture. He saw dust. He didn't see the truth. He didn't see that this small brick bungalow in Bronzeville wasn't just a house. It was a vault. It was a fortress. It was the command center of an empire he couldn't even begin to comprehend. They thought I was just Zay the mailman. And I was. For 35 years I walked these streets. I loved that job. It was honest work. It was real. I provided for my family. I paid for this house. I put food on the table. And I sent my daughter Kimberly to the best private schools I could find. I paid for the tutors, the summer camps, the college applications. I paid for the scholarship shortfalls at Northwestern University, the university where she met him, Jason Reed, a finance guy, smooth, fast-talking with a family that had old money up on the North Shore. He was white. And suddenly her father, the mailman from the South Side, wasn't a source of pride anymore. He was an embarrassment. When she married him, everything changed. The phone calls slowed down to a trickle. The visits stopped. They moved to Naperville, one of those wealthy suburbs where all the houses look the same and everyone pretends their lives are perfect. They had a big new house, 2 expensive cars, and a daughter I had only seen a handful of times. And then came the Thanksgivings. The first year after she was married, she called the day before. "Oh, Dad, we're just going to Jason's parents this year. They have a big thing. It's just easier, you understand." I understood. The second year it was a text message. Things are crazy. We're flying to Aspen with his family. Talk soon. The third year, nothing. The fourth, nothing. 5 straight years, 5 Thanksgivings. I sat right here in this chair eating a microwave dinner. I told myself she was just busy, but I knew the truth. I wasn't the right kind of family to show off to their new important friends. I wasn't just guessing. I knew. I'll never forget the last time I tried to visit them. It was for my granddaughter Lily's 4th birthday. I drove my 1998 Ford pickup. It's an old truck, sure, a little rust on the fenders, but that truck runs like a dream. My Evelyn. God rest her soul, she and I bought that truck together with cash. I pulled up to their 2-story brick colonial right on the quiet cul-de-sac. I saw Jason peek through the blinds. Before I could even turn the engine off, he came running out the front door, waving his hands like he was stopping traffic. He looked frantic. Zay, wait, he hissed. He was actually looking around the street, checking if any neighbors were watching. What are you doing? He said, his voice a low, urgent whisper. I was confused. I'm here for the party, Jason, for Lily's birthday. He rubbed his face, forcing a smile that looked like a grimace. I know, man, that's great, but hey, could you do me a favor? Could you park just around the corner on the next street over? I looked past him. His driveway was completely empty. Around the corner, I asked. What's wrong with the driveway? He laughed, a nervous, high-pitched sound. Oh, we have a lot of guests coming. Important guests, colleagues from my firm, and, well, this truck. He gestured at my Ford. It's taking up a lot of space. It would just be a big help. He didn't want his important friends to see his black father-in-law's old truck. He didn't want them to know his wife came from a man who worked with his hands. I didn't say a word. I just looked at him. I saw the panic in his eyes, the shame. I put the truck in reverse. I backed out of his driveway. I drove around the corner. I parked on the next street over. I sat there for a full minute looking at the small, brightly wrapped gift I'd brought for Lily sitting on the passenger seat. Then I put the truck in drive, and I went home. Kimberly called me later that night, her voice bright and fake. Dad, where were you? Lily was so disappointed. We waited for you. I just said, something came up, honey. Tell her Grandpa is sorry. I never told her what Jason did. But that was the day I knew. That was the day I stopped being their father and started being a problem. A problem they were now trying to solve with lawyers and clipboards and nursing homes. I looked at the phone on my wall. They thought I was alone. They thought I had no lawyer. They thought I was a broke old man. I picked up the receiver. It was time to call in the cavalry. Harrison, I said into the phone. It's Zay. They're here. They did exactly what you said they would. I picked up the receiver of my old cream-colored rotary phone. The weight of it felt solid in my hand, real. I dialed the number. Not a local number, a downtown number, the kind of number that has an extension you have to dial before you even get to the receptionist. A crisp, professional voice answered on the first ring. Harrison Chambers and Locke. How may I direct your call? Harrison, I said. It's Mr. Thompson. There was no hold music, no please wait, just a click and then his voice. A deep, smooth baritone. Zay, I was wondering when they'd be foolish enough to make their move. I didn't call a local attorney. I didn't call the guy from the diner. I called Mr. Harrison, senior managing partner, the man who handles the Evelyn Thompson Community Trust, the man who sends me my monthly stipend and manages the other 99% of my assets. They're here, Harrison, I said, walking back to my living room window. Just left. Brought a lawyer named Vance and some woman from a senior solutions place. Gave me the whole package, power of attorney, nursing home application, and a 2-day warning before they take me to court. Harrison let out a long, slow breath. I could hear the faint smile in his voice. So predictable. Greed always makes people sloppy, Zay. Are you all right? I'm fine, I said. They thought I was a poor, lonely old man. I acted the part. Good, Harrison said, because they have no idea what they just walked into. You see, my daughter Kimberly, she was right about one thing. I was a mailman, but she was wrong about everything else. My Evelyn, my late wife. She wasn't just a mailman's wife. She was a quiet, unassuming genius. When we got married in the early 70s, Bronzeville was full of beautiful old greystones that people were abandoning running for the suburbs. Banks wouldn't give loans. Insurance companies redlined the whole map. Evelyn saw what they didn't. She saw history. She saw value. I was the one with the steady government job. The mail route. My paycheck was solid. It wasn't much, but it was guaranteed. Evelyn, she took every extra dollar I made and she started buying things. She bought a 2-flat for almost nothing. We lived in one unit and she fixed up the other with her own 2 hands. I'd come home from my route and she'd be there covered in plaster dust, a hammer in her hand, smiling. She rented that unit out. Then she used that rent to buy the next building and the next. For 40 years while I walked my route, Evelyn built an empire. Quietly, silently. She formed a small corporation, then a trust. She bought commercial properties in Woodlawn and Hyde Park. She invested in small businesses. When she passed 5 years ago, she left me in charge of it all. Not just a house and a small pension. She left me 4 apartment buildings, 2 commercial properties on the south side, and a stock portfolio so heavy it makes my head spin to look at it. She left me an estate worth $34 million. And I never told Kimberly. We'd agreed on that, Evelyn and I. We saw what new money did. We saw it poison families. We saw it make kids soft, lazy, and entitled. We wanted Kimberly to be strong. We wanted her to value work character and integrity. We wanted her to be like us. So we lived simply. We drove that Ford truck. We lived in this bungalow. We taught her that what mattered was what you did, not what you had. I thought I was teaching her strength. I thought I was protecting her. But I see now I just gave her something to be ashamed of. I gave her a broke mailman dad to hide from her rich white husband. I had kept my secret to protect her character, and in doing so, I had created a monster who saw my simple life as weakness. A weakness she and her husband were now desperate to exploit. My simple life was the perfect camouflage, and they had walked right into the trap. Harrison, I said, my voice low, I need to know what they're doing. I need to know why they're so desperate. It's not just the house, it's something else. You're right, Zay, Harrison said. The smile was gone from his voice. I was about to call you. The forensic accounting team you asked me to hire 6 months ago, they just sent me their final report. And they are more than just greedy, Zay. They are drowning. I gripped the phone. Tell me. Jason Reed, Harrison began, and I could hear him turning pages. He wasn't just in finance. He was in high-risk, unregulated crypto markets, and he got wiped out. 6 months ago, he lost $2.4 million. Most of it wasn't his. It was money from private lenders, the kind of lenders who don't send polite letters. My blood ran cold. $2.4 million. They're hunting him, Zay. His assets are frozen. His firm is under investigation. That BMW he's driving, it's 3 months behind on payments. The house in Naperville, it's in pre-foreclosure. They're going to lose everything before Christmas. It all clicked. The sudden visit, the urgency, the lawyer, the nursing home. This wasn't just about greed. It wasn't just about being ashamed of me. This was about survival. They thought I was a broke old man with a paid-off house worth maybe $400,000 and a small pension. To them, I wasn't a father. I was a life raft. A small, easy-to-grab life raft they could cash in to pay off the sharks. The team is ready, Zay, Harrison said, his voice firm. The accountants, the investigators, they're all on standby. What do you want to do? I looked out the window. My quiet street, my home. They gave me one day, Harrison, I said. They're coming back tomorrow for my signature. They think they're coming to take my house. And what are they going to find instead? Harrison asked. I smiled. A cold, hard smile. The kind of smile a man gets when he's about to protect his home. They're going to find you. I didn't have to wait long. I was standing by the window watching the rain start to fall when my old cell phone buzzed on the kitchen counter. It was Kimberly. I let it ring. Once. Twice. On the third ring, I picked it up. Hello. Dad. Her voice was sharp, impatient. The fake worry from this morning was completely gone. You didn't call me back. I was just thinking, honey. You and Jason, you gave me a lot to consider. I made sure to put a little tremor in my voice, a little confusion. Thinking, Dad, there's nothing to think about, she snapped. Mr. Vance was very clear. This is happening one way or another. Did you sign the papers? I could hear Jason muttering in the background. Ask him? Just ask him if he signed. Kimberly, please, I said, leaning into the performance. This is my home. You're asking me to just give it away. I heard her sigh, a dramatic, long-suffering sound, the sigh of a daughter burdened by her foolish old father. Dad, we are not taking your home. We are managing your asset. It's what's best for you. Now, have you signed the papers or not? We don't have time for this. I can't, I stammered. I don't trust that lawyer, Kim. He scares me. He scares you, she almost shrieked. He's a professional, Dad. You're not making any sense. This is exactly what we were talking about. You're confused. I'm not confused, I said, raising my voice, just a little sounding defensive. I'm scared. I don't know what's happening. You show up here. You threaten me. We are not threatening you, she yelled. You are... I let my voice crack. I forced a dry sob. You're my only daughter, Kimberly. How can you do this to me? After everything I did for you. After your mother passed. There was a pause. For a split second, I wondered if I had gotten through. Maybe a flicker of guilt I was wrong. Don't, she said, her voice dropping to a cold monotone. Don't you dare bring Mom into this. This is about you and your inability to be realistic. Mr. Vance is coming back tomorrow with the court order. I hope you're happy. She was about to hang up. This was my moment. Wait! I shouted, desperation now flooding my voice. Wait! Kim, please! Don't hang up. You're right. I'm sorry. I'm scared. She paused. Scared of what? I'm scared of what will happen to my things, my money. I heard Jason in the background again. Money? What money? He's got nothing. What money, Dad? Kimberly asked, her voice suddenly changing. The irritation was gone, replaced by a sharp, focused curiosity. I took a shaky breath, pressing the phone hard against my ear. I never told you, I whispered. I was saving it, for Lily, for your daughter, a little nest egg. I could hear her move the phone away, whispering urgently to Jason. He says he has money, a nest egg for Lily. Jason's voice came on the line, suddenly smooth, suddenly friendly, like a snake slithering out of the grass. Zay, hey buddy, it's Jason. Are you okay? You sound upset. Buddy. He hadn't called me buddy since the day he asked to marry my daughter. Jason, I said, letting my voice break. I don't know what to do. You're talking about lawyers about nursing homes. I don't want them to take my money. Of course not, Zay. We don't want anyone to take your money. We're here to protect your money. That's what this is all about, right, Kim? Right, Kimberly chirped back on the line. We just want to protect you, Dad. How much money are we talking about? There it was, the question. I let the silence hang for a moment as if I was ashamed to say. I'm not sure, I lied. I think maybe 50,000 or 60. I'd have to check the passbook. $60,000. To them it was pocket change, but to the broke mailman they thought I was, it was a life savings. And to a man drowning in $2 million of debt, it was a tank of oxygen. The silence on their end was electric. I could practically hear Jason's mind spinning, the gears clicking. Dad, Kimberly said, her voice now dripping with honey. That's wonderful. You saved that much. That's so responsible of you. But Dad, where is this money? It's at the bank, I stammered. First National, in a savings account. But Jason, I don't trust them. I don't trust banks. What do you mean, Zay? Jason asked, his voice tight. I read things, I said, letting the paranoia creep in. On the computer. They say banks can just fail. They can take your money, and now you're here with lawyers and the court. What if the court takes it? What if that judge freezes my account? No, Zay. That's not how it works, Jason said, but I could hear the excitement in his voice. I was handing him the perfect excuse. I don't believe you, I cried. I think I should go tomorrow. First thing. I'm going to go to the bank and I'm going to pull it all out, all of it, in cash. No, Jason shouted. It was so loud, so sudden, I almost dropped the phone. He caught himself. I mean, Zay, no, that's not safe. walking around with $60,000 in cash. In this neighborhood, Zay, that's a terrible idea. You could get robbed. Someone could hurt you. But what else can I do? I wailed. I can hide it under the mattress. That's safe. No one will find it there. Oh, God, I heard Kimberly mutter. He's completely lost it. Jason's voice was low, soothing. Zay, listen to me. I know you're scared. We get it. You're right to be. It's a scary world. But hiding cash under a mattress it's not the answer. Then what is? I pleaded. I heard muffled whispering. Jason was outlining a plan to Kimberly. Then he came back on. Listen, Zay. What you need is a secure account, a private account. Something the courts can't touch. You understand you do? Like what? Like Kimberly's personal savings account, he said as if the idea had just struck him. It's perfect. It's a high-yield account. It's safe. It's not in your name, so no judge can freeze it. You can just transfer the money there, just for safekeeping, until this all blows over. Transfer? Oh, Jason. I don't know how to do that. All that online stuff, it's too complicated. I get confused. That's okay, Zay. Jason said, his voice like a warm blanket. That's perfectly fine. That's what family is for. We can help you. You would? I asked, my voice small. Of course, Dad, Kimberly said, her voice practically singing. Why don't we come over tomorrow morning? We can sit down with you and the computer. We can just help you move it. It will only take 5 minutes. Then you'll know your money is safe with us. Doesn't that sound better? I paused. I let them wait. I guess so, I said, defeated. If you're sure it's safe. It's the safest place in the world, Dad, Kimberly said. Okay, I whispered. Tomorrow then. We'll be there at 10, Dad, she said. We'll bring coffee. Thank you, Kimberly, I said. Thank you. You're a good daughter. She hung up. I put the phone down. The tremor in my voice disappeared. The confusion in my eyes cleared. I stood up, no longer the stooped, scared old man. We'll bring coffee, I repeated to the empty room. I looked at the small hidden security camera above my kitchen door. Its tiny green light was glowing. I'm counting on it, I said. I heard a shuffle, and then Jason's voice was suddenly on the line, no longer muttering in the background, but loud, clear, and oozing a false, syrupy concern. Zay. Hey, buddy, it's Jason. I overheard. Listen to me. You sound panicked, and I need you to take a deep breath. His voice was so smooth, so reasonable. The voice of a financial advisor calming a nervous client. But underneath it I could hear it. The high-pitched whine of a cornered animal, the desperation. He was drowning, and I had just thrown him a $60,000 rope. Jason, I said, my voice trembling for effect. I don't know what to do. They're going to take my house. They're going to take my money. I have to protect it. I have to get the cash. I'll hide it. Evelyn and we always had a spot in the attic. No! He shouted just like he had before. He was terrified of the cash idea. A man like Jason wouldn't understand. Cash under a mattress is simple. It's real. He operates in a world of digital numbers of easy transfers. He needed that money where he could get his hands on it. Zay, listen, he said, lowering his voice again. I'm a professional. This is what I do for a living. I manage money. And I am telling you, pulling out $60,000 in cash is the single most dangerous thing you could possibly do. Do you understand me? But it's my money, I whimpered. Of course it is. And we want to protect it. Think about it. You walk out of the First National downtown, you've got a bag full of cash. In your neighborhood, Zay, let's be honest. People watch. People talk. You'd be a walking target. Someone could follow you home. They could rob you. They could hurt you, Zay. Hurt you badly. We can't have that. He was painting a picture, a dark, violent picture designed to scare the senile old man. He was good. I'll give him that. But if I hide it... Where's Zay? Under the mattress, in the attic. You think a robber doesn't know to look there first? That's amateur hour. No. You need something secure. Something nobody can touch. Not the courts, not a judge, not a robber. What, Jason? What's safer than in my hand? I heard him sigh as if he was explaining a complex theory to a child. A transfer, Zay. A digital transfer. It's instant. It's untraceable. You move the money from your account to another secure account. An account that's not in your name. An account that no lawyer or judge can even find. I don't understand, I said. Whose account? I heard Kimberly's voice in the background. Ours, tell him ours. Kimberly's account, Jason said, as if the idea had just struck him a moment of pure genius. It's perfect. She has a high-yield savings account with a different bank. It's completely separate from all this. It's not in your name. You just move the money there. It's like putting it in a digital safe deposit box. Just for safekeeping, just until we get this mess with the lawyers sorted out. Then when it's all safe, we can move it right back. Simple. Move it. Transfer, I said, making my voice sound as confused as possible. You mean on the computer with the online banking? Exactly, Jason said, triumphant. It takes 5 minutes. You just log in, put in Kim's account number and click send. Done. Safe. Oh, Jason, I said, letting out a long, shaky sigh. Oh, son, I can't. I just can't. What do you mean you can't? It's easy. His patience was starting to fray. I could hear it. I can't, I insisted, my voice rising in feigned panic. I don't know how I don't have that. The online, it's too complicated. All those passwords, I get confused. I try to pay my electric bill on there and I get all mixed up. The letters are too small. I can't do it, Jason. I'll just go get the cash. It's better. I'll go get the cash. Don't go get the cash, he barked. He was losing his composure. The fish was pulling hard on the line. Zay, you are not listening to me. You can't just, He stopped. He was thinking. I could hear the gears grinding. How could he get the confused old man to do the transfer if the old man couldn't use a computer? I waited. I let the silence stretch. I added a small broken sob for good measure. I just don't know what to do, I whispered. You're all coming at me, and I'm all alone. Then I delivered the bait. Jason, I asked, my voice tiny. Kimberly. We're here, Dad. Kimberly said, her voice now soft as cotton. We're right here. Could you come over? I asked. Tomorrow I can't do this alone. Could you come here to the house? You have that laptop thing. You're good with computers. Could you show me how you could help me? Just help me do the transfer. Then I'll know the money is safe with you. The silence on the other end was absolute. It was the silence of a predator that has just watched its prey walk right into the snare. I heard muffled, excited whispering. He's asking us to come, yes, to do the transfer, at his house. It's perfect. Kimberly's voice came back on, so full of fake love it almost made me sick. Oh, Dad, of course we can. We didn't want you to think you were alone in this. That's a wonderful idea. You're not mad? I asked. Mad, Dad, no. We're relieved, she said. We're just so relieved you're finally letting us help you. We were so worried. We can be there first thing, Jason cut in all business. 10 a.m. Is that good? We can bring coffee. We'll sit down. We'll handle this together, like a family. Oh, thank you, I said, letting the relief flood my voice. Thank you, son. Thank you, Kimberly. 10 o'clock is perfect. I'll have my bank book ready. You do that, Dad, Kimberly said. Everything is going to be fine now. You'll see. We love you. I love you too, honey, I said. I hung up the phone. I stood in my silent kitchen. The scared old man was gone. The tremor in my hands stopped. My breathing, which had been shallow and panicky, became slow and steady. I looked at the small dark lens of the security camera I'd installed over the kitchen door 5 years ago, the one that fed directly to a secure server managed by Harrison's office. 10 a.m., I said to the empty room. We'll bring coffee. A cold, hard smile spread across my face. I'm counting on it. I sat in my study, the small room I told Kimberly was just for storing old tax records. The room was dark, lit only by the pale, ghostly green of the 9-inch monitor on my desk. I watched the feed from the small camera I'd installed over my front porch 10 years ago. Evelyn, my wife, had always said I was paranoid. I told her I was just careful. Turns out I wasn't nearly careful enough. It was 11:32 p.m. I had been in the dark for 2 hours pretending to be asleep. I knew they wouldn't be able to wait until morning. Desperate men don't sleep well. Right on cue, the motion sensor tripped. The monitor flickered to life. A car door shut quietly down the street. Jason. He crept up the walkway like a thief, his shoulders hunched. A minute later, Kimberly's car glided up. She got out and met him on my porch steps. They were standing right under the camera, bathed in the grainy night vision. They thought they were invisible. They thought I was asleep, the simple old man dreaming of his $60,000 nest egg. "Did he sound convinced?" Kimberly whispered. Her voice was sharp, a razor in the quiet night. "The nest egg." Jason let out a breath, a short, frustrated puff of air. "He's a terrified old man. He practically begged me to come and take his money. 60 grand. It's pathetic." He ran a hand through his hair. "But it's a start. It'll keep the wolves at bay for a week or two." "But what if he just changes his mind?" Kimberly asked, wringing her hands. "What if he wakes up tomorrow and decides not to? What if he tries to call someone?" "He's not going to call anyone. Kim," Jason said, his voice laced with contempt. "Who would he call? He's got nobody. He trusts us. He thinks we are saving him from the big bad court. He's a senile fool." He walked right into it. I clenched my fists under the desk. My own daughter, listening to her husband call me a fool, and she just nodded. "But Jason," she pressed the transfer, "it's still risky. What if he fumbles? What if he puts in the wrong number? What if he, I don't know, just can't do it?" He sounded really confused on the phone. Jason looked around, checking the dark windows of my neighbors' houses. He was so sure no one was listening. "Oh, he's going to be confused all right," Jason said. His voice dropped and my blood ran cold. "That's the beauty of the plan. I'm not actually going to let him do the transfer." "What?" Kimberly was shocked. "What do you mean? We need that money. You said we need it now." "We'll get the money," Jason hissed, "but not by asking him for it. Think, Kimberly, if we just transfer the money, he's still a problem. He's still here. He can still talk to people. He can still go to the bank and ask questions. He can still be a burden. We need a permanent solution." "A permanent solution?" I whispered to the dark screen. My heart hammered against my ribs. Jason reached into the inner pocket of his expensive suit jacket. Even in the grainy night vision I saw it. A small amber-colored pill bottle. He held it up like a trophy. "Vance gave me this," Jason whispered. "He called it Plan B, or maybe Plan A." Kimberly recoiled. "What is that, Jason? What is that? Is that poison?" "Poison, God, no," Jason scoffed. "Don't be so dramatic. It's just medicine, a strong sedative. It's called risperidone. Vance said they give it to difficult patients to calm them down." I felt the air leave my lungs. A sedative. From the lawyer. This wasn't just my children. This was a conspiracy. "A sedative?" Kimberly asked, her voice trembling. "What are we going to do with that?" "We're going to use it," Jason said, his voice flat and cold. "Tomorrow. When we bring the coffee, he's expecting us to be friendly. He's expecting us to help him with the computer, so we help him. We'll bring coffee." The words echoed in my head. We sit down. Jason continued, laying out the steps like he was planning a corporate takeover. We open the laptop, we ask for his passbook, and while he's looking for it, I'll put this in his cup. Vance said to use a double dose, just to be sure. "A double dose?" Kimberly's voice was a horrified whisper. "Jason, what will that do to him? He's 71. It won't kill him." He snapped, his impatience showing. "That's the point. It's not poison. It's confusion." Vance was very specific. Within 30 minutes, he'll get dizzy. He'll start slurring his words. He'll get agitated. He might not even recognize us. He'll be senile. He'll be exactly the confused, aggressive old man that Ms. Albright wrote about in her report. My God, I felt sick. I had to put my hand over my mouth to keep from making a sound. They weren't just going to rob me. They were going to create the evidence. They were going to make me the person they claimed I was. The lawyer, the expert, my children. They were all in on it. "So, he gets confused," Kimberly said, following his logic. "Then what? Then," Jason let out a small, sharp laugh. "Then the performance of our lives begins. You get on the phone. You dial 911. You cry. You scream. You say, 'My father, I don't know what's wrong with him. He's not making any sense. He's aggressive. He tried to hit me. He tried to hit me.'" "Yes," Jason insisted. That's what you'll say. The ambulance will come, the EMTs will find an old man heavily drugged, slurring his words, paranoid, maybe even fighting them because he's so confused. They will transport him to the hospital. And what will the hospital record, Kim? What will the official medical chart say? Kimberly was quiet for a second. I saw her nod slowly on the monitor. That he's confused, that he's aggressive, that he had a psychotic break. Exactly, Jason said, his voice full of triumph. We won't even have to go to the hearing in 2 days. We'll have an official medical diagnosis. We'll have a 911 call. We'll have an ambulance report. We will file for an emergency guardianship tomorrow afternoon. Any judge in the state will sign off on it in 5 minutes. Confused elderly man, a danger to himself and others. Boom, done. He had an answer for everything. He and that shark Vance. They had built a perfect, inescapable trap. And the money, Kimberly whispered. The $60,000, that's the easiest part, Jason said, his voice dismissive. Once you are his legal guardian, his medical proxy, his power of attorney, you just walk into the bank. You don't ask, you tell them. You're his guardian. You close his account. You transfer the money. You do whatever you want. It's all perfectly legal. They were going to drug me, label me insane, and use the very system designed to protect me as the weapon to destroy me. It's brilliant, Jason, Kimberly breathed. But it's terrifying. What if they find the drug in his system? Who's going to look? Jason scoffed. They'll test for a stroke, a heart attack. They're not going to run an advanced toxicology screen for a sedative on a 71-year-old man who just had a psychotic break. And even if they do, so what? He's an old man. He must have gotten confused. He overdosed on his own anxiety medication. Oh, what a tragedy. It just proves our point. He is incompetent. He can't even manage his own pills. I watched them on the screen. My daughter, my son-in-law, plotting my complete and total destruction. And then, Kimberly asked, her voice small, he just stays in the hospital. He goes from the hospital straight to Silver Pines, Jason said, his voice final. And he never comes out. We sell this dump. He kicked the porch railing. We get the 60 grand and we breathe, Kim. We finally get to breathe. Those sharks I owe, this will quiet them down. Then we have time. We have time to figure out how to liquidate the rest of his assets, whatever other pennies he has. There was a long silence. I watched my daughter. She looked down at her feet. I held my breath. Was this the moment would she finally see the monster she was married to? He looked so sad on the phone, she whispered. So scared. He really trusts me. For a second I thought I had her. Then Jason put his arms around her. He pulled her close. I know, baby. I know it's hard. He's your dad. But think about us. Think about Lily. Think about our future. He's had his life. A long, simple, pathetic life. Now it's our turn. He tilted her chin up. He owes this to us. After everything. After making you grow up like this. Ashamed. He owes us. I watched my daughter's face on the monitor. I saw the doubt flicker. I saw it die. And I saw her resolve harden. She relaxed in his embrace. You're right, she said, her voice clear now. He does. It's our turn. Good, Jason said. Now let's get out of here. This place gives me the creeps. They walked back to their separate cars. They didn't even kiss goodnight. It wasn't about love. It was a business transaction. I watched them drive away, one after the other, disappearing into the dark. I sat in my study for a long time. The house was silent again. The rain had stopped. I looked at the monitor. The porch was empty. Drug me. Call 911. Get me labeled insane. Steal my money. Lock me away until I die. It wasn't just a plan. It was an execution. I picked up my phone. I didn't call the police. Not yet. I called Harrison. The phone rang once. Harrison, I said, my voice as cold as the grave they were digging for me. It's Zay. Tell me, he said. He already knew from my tone. They're coming tomorrow at 10. They're bringing coffee. And they're bringing a sedative from Vance. Zay. He started, his voice full of alarm. It's all right, I said, cutting him off. I want you and your team here at 9:30. Use the back entrance. And, Harrison. Yes, Zay. Tell Ms. Davis, the forensic accountant, tell her to bring her video camera. I think it's time we had a real family meeting. I didn't sleep, not 1 minute. I sat in my study watching the live feed from the hidden camera as the sun began to paint the Chicago sky a bruised grayish purple. I watched the timestamp on the monitor tick over, 5 a.m., 6 a.m., 7 a.m. At 7:15 I got up. I went to my bedroom and took off the simple t-shirt and sweats I'd been wearing. I reached into the back of my closet past the few simple suits I kept for church and pulled out my costume. It was an old, faded blue flannel pajama set. The knees were thin and the color was washed out. Evelyn had always hated these pajamas. She said they made me look like a charity case. Perfect. I put them on. I went into the bathroom and splashed water on my face, but I didn't comb my hair. I let it stick up in wild gray tufts. I rubbed my eyes until they were red. I looked in the mirror. The man looking back was not Isaiah Thompson, the man who managed a $34 million estate. The man in the mirror was Zay, a poor, confused, terrified old man. I shuffled into the kitchen. The stage needed to be set. I took the milk carton from the fridge. I walked to the table and accidentally knocked over my empty coffee mug from this morning, spilling the last few drops. I fumbled with the milk carton, letting a small puddle spill onto the linoleum floor. I left it there. I grabbed a dish rag, weakly swiped at the table, and then just left the rag sitting in the middle of the mess. Confusion. Neglect. Incompetence. That was the scene I was painting. My cell phone buzzed. A text from a number I didn't have saved, but I knew. Harrison. The message was one word: ready. I texted back, "Back door unlocked. Study is yours." I knew that right now, Ms. Davis, the forensic accountant who had analyzed my family's ruin, was slipping in through my back gate along with a certified videographer. They were moving silently, setting up in my small study, their equipment focused on the living room. Harrison and the two detectives were in a parked car 2 blocks away, listening to everything through the microphones Ms. Davis was placing. I was no longer alone in this house. I was the bait, and the hunters were already in the blinds. I sat down at the kitchen table in the middle of my small, pathetic mess. I practiced the tremor in my hands. I thought about Jason's debts. I thought about Kimberly's cold eyes. The tremor became surprisingly easy to maintain. I waited. 9:59 a.m. The silence in the house was absolute. 10 a.m. on the dot. The doorbell rang. I jumped a planned theatrical flinch. I shuffled from the kitchen, my old slippers scraping against the floor. I stood at the door for a moment, breathing heavily. I looked through the peephole. There they were. Kimberly was holding a cardboard coffee tray, smiling a bright false smile. Jason stood beside her, holding a pink bakery box. He was wearing a casual polo shirt, trying to look like a loving son on a helpful errand. They looked like a perfect, caring family. I fumbled with the deadbolt, making my hands shake, making it seem difficult. I turned the lock. I opened the door. "Dad," Kimberly sang, her voice painfully cheerful. "Good morning, we brought breakfast." "Oh," I said, blinking as if the light was too bright. "Kimberly, Jason, you came." "Of course we came," Jason said, pushing past me into the house, his eyes immediately scanning the room. He saw the spilled milk on the floor, the dirty rag on the table. I saw his lips curl in a tiny, satisfied smirk. He glanced at Kimberly. It was a look that said, "He's even worse than we thought." "Oh, Dad," Kimberly said, clicking her tongue in fake pity. "You've made a mess. Here, sit down, sit down. Let me clean that up for you." She bustled into the kitchen, a whirlwind of fake concern. "We brought your favorite, coffee from that place you like, and some donuts." She placed the cardboard tray on the one clean spot on the table. 4 cups, 2 large, 2 small. "Here," she said, sliding one of the large cups toward me. "This one's yours." "Black 2 sugars, just how you like it." I looked at the cup. It was a simple paper cup with a small white plastic lid. It looked so innocent, but I knew what was coming. I knew what was inside. Or rather, I knew what was about to be. "Thank you, honey," I said, my voice thick. You're a good daughter." Jason sat down across from me, placing the pink box in the center of the table. "Got you a glazed one, Zay," he said, his voice dripping with forced friendliness. "Thank you, Jason. Thank you," I murmured. I looked at the table, at the coffee, at the donuts, the Last Supper. "So," Jason said, leaning forward, Are you Are you ready for us to help you, buddy? I think so, I stammered. I have the passbook. It's in the bedroom. I'll go get it. No, sit down, Dad, Kimberly said, pushing my shoulder gently. You just relax. Drink your coffee. Where is it? I'll get it for you. It's in my nightstand, I said. Top drawer, under the Bible. Kimberly smiled. Okay, I'll be right back. She walked out of the kitchen. She was leaving me alone with Jason. This was it. This was the moment. Jason smiled at me. She's a good kid, isn't she? So worried about you. Yes, I said, my eyes fixed on my cup. A good kid. Go on, Zay, he urged, nodding at the coffee. Drink up. You don't want it to get cold. We've got a lot to do. Got to get that money safe for you. I put my trembling hands around the cup. I raised it, but I didn't drink. I looked at it. What's wrong? Jason asked, his friendly mask slipping just a fraction. You said you wanted coffee. I fumbled. It's too hot. I'll let it cool for a second. I looked toward the bedroom. She's taking a long time. She'll be right out, Jason said, his eyes darting to the cup and then back to me. She's probably just looking around, making sure you're okay. Looking for other valuables, I thought. I'll just go check on her, I said, making a move to stand up. No, Jason said a little too loud. Sit, Zay. Sit down. Relax. She's fine. Here. He did it. Right then. He thought I was looking toward the bedroom, distracted. He reached into his pants pocket. His hand came out cupped. He quickly popped the lid on my coffee cup. I wasn't looking at the bedroom. I was looking at his reflection in the dark screen of the microwave on the counter. I saw his hand move. I saw him open his fingers. I saw something small and white drop into my coffee. Plink. It was the quietest sound, the sound of a tiny pill, the sound of my execution. He snapped the lid back on. It took less than a second. A single fluid, practiced motion. I turned my head back, my face a mask of confused innocence. Jason was leaning back in his chair, smiling. That same smooth reptilian smile. See, she's coming right now. Kimberly walked back into the kitchen, my old bank passbook in her hand. Found it, Dad, she said, waving it. Wow, you really do have $62,450 in here. You've been busy. It was for you, I whispered. For Lily. That's so sweet, she said, her voice completely flat. She sat down. She looked at Jason. He gave her a tiny, almost imperceptible nod. The trap was set. The poison was in the cup. Well, Jason said, rubbing his hands together. Now that we're all here, drink your coffee, Zay. Then we can get started. We've got to protect that nest egg. He pushed the cup toward me. The cup. The one with the double dose. The one that was supposed to make me confused. The one that was supposed to steal my mind, my home, my life. I looked at the cup. I looked at Jason. I looked at Kimberly. Their two smiling, eager, murderous faces. I smiled back. A shaky, grateful, senile smile. You're right, son, I said. Thank you. Thank you for helping me. I don't know what I'd do without you. I put my trembling hands around the warm paper cup. I could feel their eyes locked on me. Jason smiling, expectant. Kimberly tapping her painted fingernails on the table, impatient. They were watching me, waiting for me to drink, waiting for the old man to swallow the bait so the real show could begin. I lifted the cup. I brought it halfway to my lips. The smell of cheap, overly sweet coffee hit me. Then I stopped. I let out a small, sharp gasp and put the cup down, sloshing a little coffee over the rim. I clutched my chest. Dad, Kimberly asked, alarmed. What is it? What's wrong? Jason leaned forward, his eyes narrowed. He wasn't worried I was having a heart attack. He was worried I'd die before he got the bank transfer. My pills, I wheezed, my voice a dry rattle. My heart pills. I forgot to take them this morning. With all this stress. I think I need to take them. Right now. Oh, God, Kimberly said, rolling her eyes. Dad, can't it wait 5 minutes? No, I said, forcing a genuine panic into my voice. The doctor said, never on an empty stomach. I need to take them with my breakfast. and I need to use the restroom. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm just an old man. I pushed myself up from the chair, making the movement clumsy. I winced in fake pain. My back. Oh, I'll just be a minute. Don't wait for me. Go ahead. We'll wait, Dad, Kimberly said, her voice tight with annoyance. Just hurry up. I'll bring my coffee with me, I said, grabbing the poisoned cup. So I can take my pills. Yes, that's a good idea. Jason and Kimberly exchanged a look. It was perfect. They saw a confused old man addled by his health problems shuffling off to the bathroom. They didn't see the soldier walking to his battle station. I shuffled down the short hallway to my bathroom. I didn't walk. I made sure my slippers dragged on the floor. I made sure my hand, the one not holding the coffee, was braced against the wall for support. I reached the bathroom. I pushed the door almost closed, but left it open just a crack. Enough for them to hear. I turned on the water in the sink. Shh. A good loud sound to cover what came next. I reached up and opened the medicine cabinet. I grabbed a bottle of aspirin and rattled it loudly. Shake, shake, shake. I cleared my throat, a loud, phlegmy old man cough. All of this was a performance. All of it for their ears in the kitchen. My real focus was on the small, fogged bathroom window above the toilet. While the water ran and while I occasionally rattled the pill bottle, I put the poisoned coffee cup on the toilet tank. I unlatched the window. I pushed it open slowly, centimeter by centimeter, praying the old hinges wouldn't squeak. The cool morning air hit my face. 3 feet below the window, in the narrow alley between my bungalow and my neighbor's, a figure was standing. Ms. Davis, dressed in a nondescript gray jogging suit, her hair tucked under a baseball cap. She looked up. Her face was all business. She held up an identical paper coffee cup, steaming hot, filled with the simple, clean black coffee I had made for myself at 7 a.m. We didn't speak. We couldn't. The microphones Harrison's team had planted were live. They were listening. I pointed to the cup on the tank. Ms. Davis nodded. With one steady hand, I picked up the poisoned cup. I passed it out the window. Her hand met mine. The cup was transferred. It was evidence. With her other hand, she passed me the clean cup. The swap took less than 3 seconds. I brought the new cup inside. I looked at Ms. Davis. I gave her a single slow nod. A nod of thanks. A nod of, it's time. She didn't smile. She just melted back into the shadows of the alley, the poisoned cup disappearing with her. I closed the window. I latched it just as quietly as I'd opened it. I flushed the toilet. A loud, definitive whoosh. I rattled the aspirin bottle one last time, then put it back. I turned off the running water. The bathroom was silent again. I took a deep breath. I looked at the man in the mirror. The man with the wild gray hair, the red-rimmed eyes, the faded blue pajamas. The man holding a clean cup of coffee. Showtime. I opened the bathroom door and shuffled back into the kitchen, the very picture of pathetic relief. Oh, that's better. I sighed, setting the clean cup on the table. My heart was just racing. These new pills, they're so strong. I'm sorry to keep you waiting. Jason's eyes were fixed on the cup. My cup. He smiled. No problem at all, Zay. The important thing is that you feel better. Right, Kim? Right, Kimberly said, forcing a smile. Health first. Now, why don't you drink your coffee, Dad? It's getting cold, and then we can get that money safe for you. Yes, I said. Yes, you're right. My money. It needs to be safe. I sat down. I looked at the two of them, my daughter, my son-in-law. Their faces were masks of loving concern, but all I could see were the hungry eyes of wolves waiting for the old sheep to finally die. I wrapped my hands around the cup. My hands were trembling again, but this time it wasn't an act. It was adrenaline. To family, I whispered. I lifted the cup to my lips, and I drank. I put my trembling hands around the warm paper cup. I could feel their eyes locked on me. Jason smiling expectant. Kimberly tapping her painted fingernails on the table, impatient. They were watching me, waiting for me to drink, waiting for the old man to swallow the bait so the real show could begin. I lifted the cup. I brought it halfway to my lips. The The smell of cheap, overly sweet coffee hit me. Then I stopped. I let out a small, sharp gasp and put the cup down, sloshing a little coffee over the rim. I clutched my chest. "Dad," Kimberly asked, alarmed. "What is it? What's wrong?" Jason leaned forward, his eyes narrowed. He wasn't worried I was having a heart attack. He was worried I'd die before he got the bank transfer. "My pills," I wheezed, my voice a dry rattle. "My heart pills. I forgot to take them this morning. With all this stress, I think I need to take them right now." "Oh, God," Kimberly said, rolling her eyes. "Dad, can't it wait 5 minutes?" "No," I said, forcing a genuine panic into my voice. "The doctor said never on an empty stomach. I need to take them with my breakfast. And I need to use the restroom. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm just an old man." I pushed myself up from the chair, making the movement clumsy. I winced in fake pain. "My back. Oh, I'll just be a minute. Don't wait for me. Go ahead." "We'll wait, Dad," Kimberly said, her voice tight with annoyance. "Just hurry up." "I'll bring my coffee with me," I said, grabbing the poisoned cup, "so I can take my pills." "Yes, that's a good idea." Jason and Kimberly exchanged a look. It was perfect. They saw a confused old man addled by his health problems shuffling off to the bathroom. They didn't see the soldier walking to his battle station. I shuffled down the short hallway to my bathroom. I didn't walk. I made sure my slippers dragged on the floor. I made sure my hand, the one not holding the coffee, was braced against the wall for support. I reached the bathroom. I pushed the door almost closed but left it open just a crack, enough for them to hear. I turned on the water in the sink. Shh. A good loud sound to cover what came next. I reached up and opened the medicine cabinet. I grabbed a bottle of aspirin and rattled it loudly. Shake, shake, shake. I cleared my throat, a loud, phlegmy old man cough. All of this was a performance, all of it for their ears in the kitchen. My real focus was on the small fogged bathroom window above the toilet. While the water ran, and while I occasionally rattled the pill bottle, I put the poisoned coffee cup on the toilet tank. I unlatched the window. I pushed it open slowly, centimeter by centimeter, praying the old hinges wouldn't squeak. The cool morning air hit my face. 3 feet below the window in the narrow alley between my bungalow and my neighbor's, a figure was standing. Ms. Davis. Dressed in a nondescript gray jogging suit, her hair tucked under a baseball cap. She looked up. Her face was all business. She held up an identical paper coffee cup, steaming hot, filled with the simple, clean black coffee I had made for myself at 7 a.m. We didn't speak. We couldn't. The microphones Harrison's team had planted were live. They were listening. I pointed to the cup on the tank. Ms. Davis nodded. With one steady hand, I picked up the poisoned cup. I passed it out the window. Her hand met mine. The cup was transferred. It was evidence. With her other hand, she passed me the clean cup. The swap took less than 3 seconds. I brought the new cup inside. I looked at Ms. Davis. I gave her a single, slow nod. A nod of thanks. A nod of, "It's time." She didn't smile. She just melted back into the shadows of the alley, the poisoned cup disappearing with her. I closed the window. I latched it just as quietly as I'd opened it. I flushed the toilet. A loud, definitive whoosh. I rattled the aspirin bottle one last time, then put it back. I turned off the running water. The bathroom was silent again. I took a deep breath. I looked at the man in the mirror. The man with the wild gray hair, the red-rimmed eyes, the faded blue pajamas. The man holding a clean cup of coffee. Showtime. I opened the bathroom door and shuffled back into the kitchen, the very picture of pathetic relief. "Oh, that's better," I sighed, setting the clean cup on the table. My heart was just racing. These new pills, they're so strong. "I'm sorry to keep you waiting." Jason's eyes were fixed on the cup. "My cup," he smiled. "No problem at all, Zay. The important thing is that you feel better. Right, Kim?" "Right," Kimberly said, forcing a smile. "Health first. Now, why don't you drink your coffee, Dad? It's getting cold, and then we can get that money safe for you." "Yes," I said. "Yes, you're right. My money. It needs to be safe." I sat down. I looked at the two of them. My daughter, my son-in-law. Their faces were masks of loving concern, but all I could see were the hungry eyes of wolves waiting for the old sheep to finally die. I wrapped my hands around the cup. My hands were trembling again, But this time it wasn't an act. It was adrenaline. To family, I whispered. I lifted the cup to my lips, and I drank. I sat down at the kitchen table, my own kitchen table, and I felt like a stranger. My hands, which were steady a moment ago, began to shake. This time it wasn't an act. It was adrenaline. It was the crushing weight of what I was about to do. Jason and Kimberly were watching me. Their eyes were bright, eager. They were like two wolves who had finally cornered their prey and were just waiting for it to bleed out. "Go on, Dad," Kimberly urged, her voice sickeningly sweet. "Drink your coffee. You'll feel so much better. We brought your favorite." "Yes," Jason added, leaning back in his chair, crossing his arms. He looked so relaxed, so confident. "Drink up, Zay. We've got a lot to do today. Got to get that money. Safe." I looked at the cup, the simple paper cup. The lid was on just as Jason had left it. I knew what was in it. Not poison to kill me. Something worse. A drug to steal my mind. To turn me into the drooling, confused old man they had described in their court papers. To make me a prisoner in my own body. I put my hands around the cup. It was still warm. I lifted it. I brought it to my lips. I saw Jason and Kimberly exchange a tiny, triumphant glance. He drank it. I took a long, loud slurp. The coffee was hot. It was clean. It was bitter. It was the coffee I had made for myself at 7 a.m. this morning before they had even arrived. "Ah," I said, letting out a satisfied sigh. "That's good. Thank you, honey. You always know what I like." I saw the muscles in Jason's shoulders relax. He smiled. He had done it. The trap was sprung. I could almost hear the countdown timer start in his head. 30 minutes until senility. 29. "See," he said, grabbing a donut from the pink box. "We're here to help Buddy. Now about that money. We need to get that computer set up." "Where do you keep that old laptop?" "Oh yes," I said, taking another sip. "The computer, it's in the closet, but I don't know." Kimberly reached across the table and patted my hand. Her touch felt like a spider. "It's okay, Dad. We'll find it. But first, about this passbook." She picked it up, her eyes wide with fake innocence. $62,000. "Wow. You were just hiding this from us." "I was saving it," I whispered. "For Lily. For you." "That's so sweet," she said. "But now, since we're going to be your guardians, we should really—" I held up my hand. Just held up my hand. It was a simple gesture, the gesture of a man asking for a moment of quiet. But the effect was electric. It stopped her cold, mid-sentence. The tremor in my hand was gone. The confusion in my eyes had vanished. I set the coffee cup down on the table. I didn't set it down gently. I set it down with a firm, solid click that echoed in the tiny, silent kitchen. Jason and Kimberly both stared at me. The air in the room changed. It got heavy. It got cold. "What?" Jason asked. His smile twitched. He looked at his watch, then back at me. "What's wrong, Zay? You feeling dizzy? Is it starting?" He actually looked excited. "No, Jason," I said. My voice was different. The weak, reedy, frightened whisper was gone. The voice that spoke was the voice of Isaiah Thompson, the voice of a man who had worked for a living, the voice of Evelyn's husband. "I'm not dizzy," I said. "I'm not confused. I'm just thinking." "Thinking?" Kimberly asked. She was completely baffled. The script had just changed and she didn't know her lines. "Yes," I said. I leaned forward, my old flannel pajamas scraping against the chair. I looked at Jason. I looked at Kimberly. "I was just thinking about my Evelyn. I was thinking about her will. You two have been so interested in my assets lately. I just have one question for you, Kimberly." "What?" she whispered. "You're a smart girl. You went to Northwestern. You read all those important books. Did you ever, in all your research, wonder why your mother Evelyn named her primary legal entity the Evelyn Thompson Community Trust?" They just stared. Blank. Empty. "What the hell is he talking about?" Jason said, looking at Kimberly. "What trust? He's rambling. The medicine. It's making him talk nonsense." "Am I?" I asked. "Am I talking nonsense?" Kimberly was pale. She was shaking her head. I don't know. Dad, you're not making sense. You're scaring me. You drank that coffee and now you're... Oh, the coffee, I said. I picked up my cup. The clean cup. This coffee is fine, Kimberly. It's delicious. But the other coffee, the one Ms. Davis is logging into evidence as we speak, that one is very, very interesting. Who the hell is Ms. Davis? Jason shouted, standing up so fast his chair screeched against the floor. He was looking at the door. He was trapped. He's senile, Kimberly shrieked, her voice rising in pure panic. He's having an episode. Jason, call 911. Call them now, just like we planned. Tell them he's aggressive. A little late for that, Kimberly, I said, and right on cue my front door opened. It didn't knock. It just opened. Jason and Kimberly spun around. Mr. Harrison walked in. He was a big man, 6'4". He was wearing a dark blue three-piece suit that probably cost $10,000. He looked like a king. He wasn't smiling. Behind him was Ms. Davis. She was no longer in a gray jogging suit. She was in a sharp black pantsuit holding a locked silver evidence case in one hand and a binder thick enough to stop a bullet in the other. And behind her were two men. Two big men. Two men who were not lawyers. They were wearing dark blue uniforms, Chicago Police Department. Their hands were resting on their belts. Kimberly made a sound, a small, high-pitched eep. It was the sound of a balloon deflating. Jason just collapsed. His face, which had been so arrogant, so full of contempt, just fell apart. He stumbled back and hit the wall. He knew. In that one devastating instant, he knew. The mailman had lied. "What is this?" he stammered, sliding along the wall. "Who are you people? This is private property. Get out. Get out of his house." "Good morning, Mr. Reed." "Mrs. Reed." Mr. Harrison's deep voice filled my small house. It was a voice made for courtrooms and boardrooms. It did not belong here. "I am Mr. Harrison. I am the legal representative for Mr. Isaiah Thompson and for the Evelyn Thompson Trust." He gestured to Ms. Davis. "This is Ms. Davis, our forensic accountant." He gestured to the two officers. "And these are Detectives Miller and Chen. They are here, as a courtesy, to prevent any misunderstandings and to take a statement." "This is harassment," Kimberly shrieked, finally finding her voice. "Dad, what did you do? What did you tell them?" "He's senile, I told you." "Officers, he's paranoid. He's not well. He called the cops on his own family." "On the contrary, Mrs. Reed," Harrison said, stepping forward. "Your father didn't call anyone. We have been listening for the past 30 minutes. In fact," he smiled, a cold, sharp smile, "we've been monitoring this house and your finances for the past 6 months." He nodded to Ms. Davis. She stepped forward. She placed her thick binder on my kitchen table right on top of the spilled milk. The thud was the loudest sound I had ever heard. "We heard the entire plan last night, Mr. Reed," Ms. Davis said, her voice like ice. "The plan to make him senile. The double dose of risperidone. The plan to call 911 and claim he was aggressive and a danger to himself. We heard it all. The audio is quite clear." Jason was holding his head. He was rocking back and forth. "No, no, no!" "And as for this morning," Harrison continued, "we have the cup, the one you thought Mr. Thompson was drinking from, the one you so helpfully drugged. It is already on its way to the state crime lab. The chain of custody is secure." Kimberly looked at the clean cup in my hand. She looked at the empty space on the counter. Her mind finally painfully put it together. The bathroom, the faked cough, the running water, the swap. She looked at me. Her face was white, chalk white. "You tricked us," she whispered. I just took another slow, deliberate sip of my clean, hot coffee. "I learned from the best," I said. Jason and Kimberly just stared. They stared at Harrison. They stared at Ms. Davis. They stared at the two Chicago police officers who were now standing impassively by my front door. The air in my little house was so thick I felt like I couldn't breathe. Kimberly, who had been shrieking just a moment before, was now completely silent. Her face was a mask of waxy white confusion. Jason was the first to find his voice. He tried to bluff. He actually tried to laugh, a high, thin, cracking sound. "What is this, a joke? Who the hell are you people? You can't just barge into a private residence. This is harassment. I'm going to sue every single one of you, starting with you, Zay, for illegal whatever this is." Kimberly, seeing her husband's attempt, found her own angle. The victim. She turned to Detective Miller, her eyes wide with what she must have thought was convincing innocence. "Officers, thank God you're here. You have to help us. My father, he's not well. He's paranoid. He's having a psychotic episode. He's been making up these wild stories. He thinks we're trying to hurt him. We just came here to help him. We brought him coffee, and he called you. He called the cops on his own family." Her voice was rising, becoming hysterical. It was a good performance. It was exactly what she had planned to do for the 911 operator. Mr. Harrison didn't raise his voice. He didn't have to. He simply looked at Kimberly, and his quiet authority silenced her. "Mrs. Reed, your father didn't call anyone. We did, and we haven't barged in. We were invited. In fact, we've been here for the last 30 minutes, in the study." He gestured to Ms. Davis, who was placing her thick binder on my kitchen table. The sound it made, a solid thud on the linoleum, seemed to shake the entire room. "We were listening, Mr. Reed," Harrison continued, his eyes locking onto Jason. "We were recording. We heard your entire plan last night standing right on that porch. The plan to drug your father-in-law, the double dose of risperidone, the plan to call 911 and claim he was aggressive and a danger to himself. We heard all of it." Jason's face went from purple rage to a pale, sweaty green. He was looking at the detectives. He was looking at the door. He was a rat, and he finally understood the trap had snapped shut. "And as for this morning," Harrison said, his voice dangerously smooth, "we have the cup, the one you thought Mr. Thompson was drinking, the one you personally, Mr. Reed, dropped a pill into." He nodded to Ms. Davis. She opened her silver evidence case. Inside, resting on clean white foam, was the paper coffee cup I had passed her through the window. "This cup, containing an unidentified substance, has been sealed and logged," she said. "Its chain of custody is secure. It will be at the state crime lab by noon." "This is entrapment!" Jason yelled, his voice cracking. "You tricked us!" Kimberly finally understood. She looked at the identical cup in my hand. She looked at the empty space on the counter. She looked at the bathroom down the hall. Her mind finally painfully put it all together. The faked cough, the running water, the swap. She looked at me. Her face was a ruin. "You tricked us," she whispered. I just took another slow, deliberate sip of my clean, hot coffee. "I learned from the best," I said. Mr. Harrison held up a hand. "I believe we should move on to the financials. Ms. Davis, if you would." This was the first execution. Ms. Davis opened her binder. She was not a lawyer, she was an accountant, and she dealt in numbers, not emotions. Her voice was flat, cold, and precise. "Let's start with you, Mr. Jason Reed," she said, as if reading a weather report. Jason, who had been sliding along the wall, froze. "Jason Reed," she read. "Current outstanding debt load, $2,420,150.44. Kimberly gasped. She physically stumbled. "What, $2 million, Jason? What is she talking about?" "That's a lie," Jason shouted. "That's private financial information. You hacked me. That's illegal." Ms. Davis didn't even look up. "Source of debt, unregulated cryptocurrency margin calls, and high-interest private loans. We have identified 3 primary lenders, groups based in, shall we say, non-traditional financial sectors. They are apparently very eager to be repaid." Mr. Harrison translated for me, though I already knew. "That means loan sharks, Zay. He's been swimming with sharks, and he's bleeding." "Jason," Kimberly whispered, her face ashen. "Loan sharks." Ms. Davis continued, her voice a relentless drumbeat. "Assets 1, 2024, BMW X5 leased. Currently 3 months behind on payments. 1 residential property, 44 Willow Creek Drive, Naperville. Currently in pre-foreclosure." That hit Kimberly harder than the $2 million. "Pre-foreclosure," she whispered. "Our house, Jason, you told me the bonuses were just delayed. You lied to me." "Shut up, Kim," Jason roared. "This is just a misunderstanding. It's market volatility." "Now for you, Mrs. Reed," Ms. Davis said, turning a page. Kimberly flinched as if she'd been struck. "Kimberly Thompson Reed," Ms. Davis read. "Current unsecured personal debt, $123,400.92. "No," Kimberly shrieked. "That's impossible. I pay my bills." "You pay the minimums," Ms. Davis corrected. "On 12 different high-interest credit cards. Your purchases include, let's see, $6,000 at Neiman Marcus, $4,000 at Gucci, and an $8,000 vacation package to Aruba last month." "While you were telling me you were too busy to visit," I said quietly. But the most interesting items, Ms. Davis continued, are these. She slid 3 pieces of paper out of her binder and placed them on the table. They were bank loan applications. We found 3 separate personal loan applications totaling $30,000 taken out over the last 6 months. They were co-signed by Isaiah Thompson. She looked up, her cold eyes meeting mine. Mr. Thompson, we ran a handwriting analysis on the signatures. Did you co-sign these loans for your daughter last spring? I looked at Kimberly. Her entire body was shaking. She wouldn't look at me. She was staring at the floor at the milk I had spilled. No, Ms. Davis, I said, my voice clear and strong. I did not. Mr. Harrison stepped forward, placing his hand on the documents. That, Mrs. Reed, is bank fraud and forgery, which is a felony. In fact, it's 3. Detective Miller, who had been silent by the door, took 1 step forward. His hand wasn't on his belt anymore. It was on his handcuffs. The soft click of the metal echoed in the kitchen. Jason was hyperventilating now, clutching his chest. Okay, so we're in debt. We made some mistakes. What does that matter? It's our problem. It doesn't give you the right to do this. Kimberly finally found her rage. It was the only thing she had left. Yes, she screamed, her eyes wild, pointing at me. He did this. He set us up. What do you care? You're just a broke old mailman. You're sitting on this house on our inheritance while we're drowning. We needed it. You owe us. You owe me. Owe you, I repeated. It wasn't a question. It was a statement. I looked at Harrison. He gave me a small nod. It was time. Broke, I said, looking at my daughter. Is that what you think, Kimberly? After all these years, you never were very observant. Harrison stepped forward again. Mr. Reed, Mrs. Reed, your father is not broke. You are. He let that sink in. You came here today for 2 reasons, Harrison said, pacing slowly, his voice filling the room. 1, to drug Mr. Thompson and have him committed, and 2, to steal what you believed was his nest egg of $60,000. It is his nest egg, Jason spat. We were protecting it. Harrison actually smiled, a thin, terrifying smile. Mr. Reed's $60,000 is what Mr. Thompson's trust pays in property taxes. Every quarter. Jason's mouth snapped shut. Kimberly's head snapped up. What did you say? Let's talk about the Evelyn Thompson Community Trust, Harrison said. The one you mentioned earlier, Mr. Thompson. He looked at Kimberly. Your mother, Mrs. Reed, was a brilliant woman. While your father was walking his mail route, providing the steady, reliable income this family lived on, your mother was building an empire. She was buying real estate. She was investing. She was creating a legacy. You're lying, Kimberly whispered. My mother was she was a housewife. Your mother, Ms. Davis cut in, opening her binder to a new section, was the sole proprietor of Thompson Holdings Incorporated, a corporation that as of this morning holds the deeds to 4 apartment buildings in Bronzeville, 2 commercial properties in Hyde Park, and a diversified stock and bond portfolio managed by our firm. Jason looked like he had been shot. How much? He choked out. Harrison looked at Ms. Davis. She didn't hesitate. As of the markets open this morning, the total value of the Evelyn Thompson Trust, of which your father is the sole trustee, is $34,280,510. Boom! The number just hung in the air. It was a physical thing. It sucked all the oxygen out of the room. Jason stumbled, grabbing the back of a chair. He was laughing, a high, choked, hysterical sound. No, 34 million here in this dump with him. He pointed at me at my faded blue pajamas. You're lying. It's a trick. It has to be. We assure you, Mr. Reed, it is not, Harrison said. Ms. Davis, the proof. Ms. Davis began placing documents on my table one after another, like a dealer in a high-stakes poker game. Exhibit A, corporate filing for Thompson Holdings. Exhibit B, deed for the property on 47th and King. Exhibit C, deed for the property on 51st and Woodlawn. Exhibit D, A, summarized quarterly statement from our brokerage. It's all here. Your father, Mr. Thompson, is one of our firm's most valued and most private clients. His pension check, as you called it, is a monthly stipend he draws from the trust's interest. He lives on less than 1% of the annual earnings. He chose to. Jason just stared at the papers. He wasn't laughing anymore. He was calculating. I could see his desperate, greedy mind working. $34 million. Wait, so if we had just been nice to him, the sheer agonizing stupidity of his own greed was hitting him. But Kimberly's eyes lit up. It was a horrible, greedy, desperate light. My inheritance, she whispered, her voice trembling. I'm the only heir. It's mine. Dad, it's mine. You have to give it to me. She was actually moving toward the papers as if she could just take them. Not quite, Harrison said gently, placing his hand on the binder. This was the second execution, which brings us to the final point, Mrs. Reed, your inheritance. It's mine, she shrieked. Your mother, as I said, was a brilliant woman. Harrison continued, his voice soft, almost sad. She was also cautious. She knew her daughter. She had seen perhaps the weakness you have for men like Mr. Reed. She saw your love of shiny things, as she put it. What are you talking about? I'm talking about Section 4, Clause B of the trust document, Harrison said. He pulled out a single leather-bound document. He opened it to a page marked with a yellow tab. He began to read. The principal of this trust shall be dispersed to my daughter, Kimberly Thompson Reed, upon the death of my husband, the trustee, Isaiah Thompson. See, Kimberly screamed. See, it's mine, on the condition. Harrison read, his voice cutting through her. That she has, in the judgment of the trustee, consistently demonstrated fiscal responsibility, familial loyalty, and respect for her father, Isaiah Thompson. Should she fail to meet these conditions, should she in his sole and absolute judgment prove to be a person of low character, greed, or disrespect, my husband, the trustee, has the full, complete, and irrevocable authority to dissolve her claim entirely. He stopped reading. He closed the book. He turned slowly to face me. Mr. Thompson, he asked. The kitchen was silent. The two detectives were watching me. Ms. Davis was watching me. And Jason and Kimberly were watching me, their faces frozen in a mask of pure primal terror. They finally understood. All of it. The mailman, the simple house, the test, the $34 million. They finally understood that the broke, senile old man they were about to destroy was the one person on earth who held their entire future in the palm of his hand. I looked at my daughter. Her eyes were pleading. Daddy, she whispered, a word she hadn't used in 20 years. I looked at Jason, a man who had tried to drug me 30 minutes ago. I looked at the poisoned coffee cup now sitting in an evidence bag on my counter. I turned to Mr. Harrison. Mr. Harrison, I said, she has failed. Those 3 words, she has failed, landed in the silent kitchen with the force of a judge's gavel. Kimberly's face, which had been frozen in terror, just collapsed. It was not a cry. It was a shattering. The sound that came out of her was a low animal wail. No, Daddy, please. No, you can't. You can't. Jason, on the other hand, went from pale to a deep, dark red. The terror was gone, replaced by a final desperate, cornered animal rage. You bastard! He roared, lunging not at me but at the papers on the table. You can't just... Those are ours! He never made it. Detective Miller, who had been a statue by the door, moved so fast I barely saw him. In one fluid motion, he had Jason's arm twisted behind his back, forcing him face first against my kitchen wall. My old Home Sweet Home plaque rattled. I would not do that, sir, Detective Miller said, his voice calm, but with an iron edge. Let me go! Jason screamed, his voice muffled against the plaster. You can't do this. He's a senile old man. He's lying. It's all a trick. Mr. Reed, Harrison's voice cut through the shouting. You are correct about one thing. It was a trick. But your father-in-law is far from senile. Harrison picked up the leather-bound trust document. This clause is ironclad, Mr. Reed. Mrs. Reed's claim to the Evelyn Thompson Trust, valued at $34 million, is now permanently and irrevocably dissolved. As of this moment, she has no further financial interest in this family's estate. The trust's assets will be redirected per Mr. Thompson's instructions. No. Kimberly was on her knees now, clawing at Mr. Harrison's suit jacket. No, please, Mr. Harrison, please tell him. Tell him I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. It was Jason. It was all Jason. He made me, Daddy. Daddy, he made me do it. Jason, his face pressed against my wall, spat out. You lying. It was your idea, you pushed me. Ah, Mr. Harrison said. And that brings us to the third and final item on our agenda. He nodded toward Ms. Davis. She picked up the silver evidence case, the one containing the poisoned coffee. And about that special medicine, Harrison said, his voice dropping, all traces of politeness gone. Detective Chen, if you would. The second detective, Chen, didn't move toward Jason. He simply pulled a small black digital recorder from his pocket. This, he said, is a recording from a surveillance device placed over the front porch of this residence. The timestamp is 11:32 p.m., last night. He pressed a button. The room filled with the sound of my daughter and son-in-law's voices whispering in the dark. First, Jason's voice, cold and clear. He's going to be confused, all right. That's the beauty of the plan. Vance gave me this. A strong sedative. Vance said to use a double dose, just to be sure. I watched Kimberly's face. She was rocking back and forth, her hands over her ears, moaning, "No, stop it." Then her own voice trembling. What will that do to him? He's 71. It could. Then Jason's voice again, explaining the 911 call, the plan to claim I was aggressive, the official medical diagnosis that would let them file for emergency guardianship. And finally, the last damning exchange. Kimberly's voice. He looked so sad on the phone, so scared. He really trusts me. And Jason's, I know, baby, but think about us. Think about our future. He's had his life. A long, simple, pathetic life. Now it's our turn. He owes this to us. The recording stopped. The silence that followed was heavier than death. Kimberly was a wreck on the floor. Jason had stopped fighting. He was just hanging in the detective's grip, defeated. Mr. Harrison walked over to the evidence bag Ms. Davis was holding. He pointed at the poisoned cup. We have the intent, he said, pointing at the recorder. We have the conspiracy, right down to the lawyer who supplied the unprescribed controlled substance. Then he tapped the bag. And here, thanks to Mr. Reed's actions this morning, we have the attempt. He looked at the two detectives. Gentlemen, I believe we are finished here. The civil matter is resolved. Detective Miller pulled Jason from the wall. Detective Chen walked over and pulled Kimberly, weeping, to her feet. Jason Reed, Kimberly Reed, Detective Miller said, his voice formal. You are under arrest for conspiracy to commit aggravated assault, attempted assault of a senior citizen, and conspiracy to commit fraud. The sound of the handcuffs clicking shut, that sharp snick-snick of cold steel, was the only sound in the room. They were done. They were finished. It was over. The sound of the handcuffs clicking shut, that sharp snick-snick of cold steel, was the loudest sound I had ever heard in my kitchen. It was the sound of a trap closing, the sound of a life ending. Jason, who had been pressed against my wall, just broke. He wasn't a shark anymore. He was just a desperate, pathetic man. He made a wild animal sound and tried to bolt for the back door. He didn't even make it 2 steps. Detective Miller, who hadn't even looked at him, simply stuck out a foot. Jason tripped hard over the detective's boot and sprawled onto the linoleum, right into the puddle of milk I had spilled earlier. It was a pathetic, sloppy sound. He just lay there whimpering as Detective Chen calmly knelt and cuffed his hands behind his back. He was done. But Kimberly's reaction was worse. She didn't fight. She didn't run. She just imploded. She crumpled to the floor right where she stood. She landed in a heap of expensive clothing and broken dreams, her hands hitting the floor. She wasn't just crying. She was wailing. A high, thin, agonizing sound that clawed at the air. It was the sound of a child who had just realized the world was not what she thought it was. It was the sound of absolute, complete ruin. No, 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 no. She rocked back and forth on her knees. This isn't happening. This is a mistake. A misunderstanding. Daddy, tell them. I just stood there holding my clean cup of coffee. I watched my daughter, the woman who had sat there 30 minutes ago plotting to drug me, now kneeling on my dirty kitchen floor begging. Mr. Reed, you have the right to remain silent, Detective Miller said, pulling Jason up roughly. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. It was her, Jason screamed. His face twisted, pointing a cuffed hand at Kimberly. It was all her. She pushed me. She's the one who wanted the money. She's the greedy one. I just did what she said. Liar. Kimberly shrieked, scrambling to her feet. You liar! It was your debts. You're your loan sharks. You told me this was the only way. They were turning on each other, like rats in a sack. It was ugly, it was fast, and it was exactly what Harrison said would happen. Detective Chen moved toward Kimberly. Ma'am, please stand up. No, get away from me, she screamed. You can't arrest me. You don't know who I am. Daddy, do something. Tell them to stop. Tell them it's a mistake. She looked at me. Her eyes were wild, full of terror, and for the first time full of hate. Pure, unfiltered hate. This was my fault. In her mind, I was the villain. I was the one who had destroyed her. Daddy, tell them, Kimberly shrieked again, her voice cracking. Detective Chen was trying to put the cuffs on her, but she was fighting, twisting. You can fix this. Tell them you were confused. Tell them it was a test. Tell them you're sorry. Daddy, say something. I just watched her. I didn't feel anger. I didn't feel pity. I just felt empty. I felt done. All the love I had stored up for her for 40 years, the love that had survived the Thanksgivings, the insults, the shame, it had all just evaporated. It was gone. Detective Chen finally got the cuffs on her. She stood there, defeated, tears and makeup streaming down her face. She looked at me. Her entire body was shaking with a rage that was deeper than anything I had ever seen. You, she whispered. Her voice was no longer a shriek. It was a low, venomous hiss. You did this. You lied to me. I lied? I asked. My voice was quiet, but it cut through the room. Yes, she screamed, lunging forward, stopped only by the detective's firm grip. You lied. My whole life, you pretended to be this nothing, this broke old mailman. You let me think. You let me be ashamed of you. You're not a mailman. You're a monster. You have millions of dollars, and you watched us drown. You could have helped us all this time. You could have helped. The accusation just hung there. That I, the rich father, had let them suffer. That I was the cruel one. I set my coffee cup down on the counter. I stood up straight. I wasn't the shaking old man in pajamas anymore. I was Isaiah Thompson, and it was time for the first and last time for my daughter to meet him. You're right about one thing, Kimberly, I said. I did lie, or rather I let you believe a lie you were all too eager to accept. I looked at her, at the daughter who saw me as nothing. I was a mailman. I said, my voice strong and clear. I was a damn good one. For 35 years I walked these streets. I carried that bag. I worked through the rain, the snow, the sleet. I earned every single dollar that put food in your mouth. I earned the money that paid for your private school uniforms. I earned the money that paid for your college applications. I worked. I provided. That was my job, and I was proud of it. Kimberly just stared at me, her chest heaving. But your mother, I continued. Your mother, Evelyn, she was something else. While I was providing, she was building. I brought home the bricks. She built the empire. She bought that first 2-flat when you were a baby. She stayed up all night learning about ledgers, about escrow, about zoning laws. She took the little bit of money I made and she turned it into a fortune. While I was walking, she was soaring, and she did it all for you. For me, Kimberly whispered. Yes, for you. We didn't want you to be like them. I gestured at Jason, who was now just a silent, weeping heap by the wall. We didn't want you to be a soft, entitled trust fund kid. We wanted you to be strong. We wanted you to have character. We wanted you to build something of your own. So we lived simply. We kept it all a secret. We wanted you to love us for us, not for what we had. I shook my head, a deep, profound sadness settling on me. But we failed. We failed, Evelyn and I. We protected you so much. We didn't see the person you were becoming. The person who would be ashamed of her father. The person who would marry a man like that. The person who would try to drug her own father, to lock him away just to steal a house she thought was all he had. It wasn't like that, she sobbed. We were desperate. You don't understand, Jason. He owed... I understand everything. I cut her off, my voice like ice. I understand the $2.4 million debt. I understand the loan sharks. I understand the foreclosure. I understand the forgery. I understand the conspiracy. I understand that you are not my daughter. You are just a greedy, desperate stranger. Kimberly's face crumpled. The last bit of fight went out of her. She knew. She knew I knew everything. She looked up at me, her cuffed hands held in front of her like she was praying. But the trust, she whispered, her mind still working, still calculating. The money, Harrison. He said, it's mine. After you're gone, it's still mine, right? It's my inheritance. She looked past me at Mr. Harrison, who was standing by the kitchen table, his arms crossed. Where is my inheritance? The question was so raw, so her. Even now in handcuffs, in total ruin, her only thought was the money. Mr. Harrison looked at me. I gave him the nod, the final one. He picked up the leather-bound trust document. He walked over until he was standing right in front of her. Your inheritance, Mrs. Reed, he said, his voice void of all emotion. Let's review the terms your mother Evelyn wrote with her own hand. He opened the book. Section 4, Clause B. He read, his voice filling the small kitchen. The principal of this trust shall be dispersed to my daughter Kimberly Thompson Reed upon the death of my husband, the trustee Isaiah Thompson. Kimberly's eyes lit up, a desperate wild hope. See? She shrieked at Jason. See, it's mine, it's still mine? Mr. Harrison held up one finger. Ah, but you didn't let me finish. I believe I will read the rest of the clause. He cleared his throat. On the condition that she has, in the judgment of the trustee, consistently demonstrated fiscal responsibility, familial loyalty, and respect for her father, Isaiah Thompson. Kimberly froze. Harrison continued reading. Should she fail to meet these conditions? Should she, in his sole and absolute judgment, prove to be a person of low character, greed, or disrespect? He paused. He looked right into her eyes. My husband, the trustee, has the full, complete, and irrevocable authority to dissolve her claim entirely. Kimberly stopped breathing. Harrison closed the book. The thump of the leather cover echoed in the room. He turned slowly to face me. The two detectives were watching me. Ms. Davis was watching me. And Jason and Kimberly were watching me, their faces frozen in a mask of pure primal terror. They finally understood. All of it. The mailman. The simple house. The test. The $34 million. They finally understood that the broke, senile old man they were about to destroy was the one person on earth who held their entire future in the palm of his hand. I looked at my daughter. Her eyes were pleading. Daddy, she whispered, a word she hadn't used in 20 years. I looked at Jason, a man who had tried to drug me 30 minutes ago. I looked at the poisoned coffee cup now sitting in an evidence bag on my counter. I turned to Mr. Harrison. Mr. Harrison, I said, my voice clear and final. She has failed. Those 3 words, she has failed, landed in the silent kitchen with the force of a judge's gavel. Kimberly's face, which had been frozen in terror, just collapsed. It was not a cry, it was a shattering. The sound that came out of her was a low animal wail. No, Daddy, please. No, you can't. Jason, on the other hand, went from pale to a deep dark red. The terror was gone, replaced by a final desperate cornered animal rage. You bastard! He roared, lunging not at me, but at the papers on the table. You can't just... Those are ours! He never made it. Detective Miller, who had been a statue by the door, moved so fast I barely saw him. In one fluid motion, he had Jason's arm twisted behind his back, forcing him face first against my kitchen wall. My old Home Sweet Home plaque rattled. I would not do that, sir, Detective Miller said, his voice calm but with an iron edge. Let me go. Jason screamed, his voice muffled against the plaster. You can't do this. He's a senile old man. He's lying. It's all a trick. Mr. Reed, Harrison's voice cut through the shouting. You are correct about one thing. It was a trick. But your father-in-law is far from senile. Harrison picked up the leather-bound trust document. This clause is ironclad, Mr. Reed. Mrs. Reed's claim to the Evelyn Thompson Trust, valued at $34 million, is now permanently and irrevocably dissolved. As of this moment, she has no further financial interest in this family's estate. The trust's assets will be redirected per Mr. Thompson's instructions. No. Kimberly was on her knees now, clawing at Mr. Tall Harrison's suit jacket. No, please, Mr. Harrison, please. Tell him I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. It was Jason, it was all Jason. He made me Daddy. Daddy, he made me do it. Jason, his face pressed against my wall, spat out. You lying. It was your idea, you pushed me. Ah, Mr. Harrison said. And that brings us to the third and final item on our agenda. He nodded toward Ms. Davis. She picked up the silver evidence case, the one containing the poisoned coffee. And about that special medicine, Harrison said, his voice dropping, all traces of politeness gone. Detective Chen, if you would. The second detective, Chen, didn't move toward Jason. He simply pulled a small black digital recorder from his pocket. This, he said, is a recording from a surveillance device placed over the front porch of this residence. The timestamp is 11:32 p.m. last night. He pressed a button. The room filled with the sound of my daughter and son-in-law's voices whispering in the dark. First Jason's voice, cold and clear. He's going to be confused, all right. That's the beauty of the plan. Vance gave me this. A strong sedative. Vance said to use a double dose, just to be sure. I watched Kimberly's face. She was rocking back and forth, her hands over her ears, moaning, "No, no, stop it." Then her own voice trembling, "What will that do to him? He's 71. It could. Then Jason's voice again explaining the 911 call, the plan to claim I was aggressive, the official medical diagnosis that would let them file for emergency guardianship. And finally, the last damning exchange, Kimberly's voice. He looked so sad on the phone, so scared. He really trusts me. And Jason's, "I know, baby, but think about us. Think about our future. He's had his life. A long, simple, pathetic life. Now it's our turn. He owes this to us." The recording stopped. The silence that followed was heavier than death. Kimberly was a wreck on the floor. Jason had stopped fighting. He was just hanging in the detective's grip, defeated. Mr. Harrison walked over to the evidence bag Ms. Davis was holding. He pointed at the poisoned cup. "We have the intent," he said, pointing at the recorder. "We have the conspiracy, right down to the lawyer who supplied the unprescribed controlled substance." Then he tapped the bag. "And here, thanks to Mr. Reed's actions this morning, we have the attempt." He looked at the two detectives. "Gentlemen, I believe we are finished here. The civil matter is resolved." Detective Miller pulled Jason from the wall. Detective Chen walked over and pulled Kimberly weeping to her feet. "Jason Reed, Kimberly Reed," Detective Miller said, his voice formal. "You are under arrest for conspiracy to commit aggravated assault, attempted assault of a senior citizen, and conspiracy to commit fraud." The sound of the handcuffs clicking shut, that sharp snick-snick of cold steel, was the only sound in the room. They were done. They were finished. It was over. A tear, one single hot tear, rolled down Kimberly's blank face. She didn't make a sound. She just broke. "All right," Detective Miller said, his voice firm, breaking the spell. "Let's go. You two on your feet." He pulled Jason up. Jason stumbled, his legs like rubber. "I need my lawyer," he stammered. "You can't. I need to call Vance." "You'll get your call, sir," the detective said, pushing him toward the door. Detective Chen took Kimberly's arm. "Ma'am, let's go." She didn't move. She was just frozen. Her eyes were still locked on me. "Daddy," she whispered one last time. It was the voice of a little girl lost in the woods. I had to turn away. I couldn't look at her. I couldn't. I turned and looked out my kitchen window at the small, tidy backyard Evelyn had loved. I heard the sound of their shoes shuffling on the floor. I heard the front door open. I heard the cold morning air. I heard the click of the door closing. And then, silence. They were gone. My house was quiet again, but it was a different quiet. It was the quiet of a storm that has finally passed. I stood there for a long time. Ms. Davis was quietly packing her binders. The videographer was shutting down his camera. Mr. Harrison hadn't moved. He was waiting. I took a deep, long breath, the first clean breath I had taken in years. I turned around. "Harrison," I said. He met my gaze. "Zay, call the bank, call the partners, call whoever you need to call," I said. "I want you to begin the proceedings immediately." "The disinheritance?" he asked, just to be sure. "Yes," I said. "Tear up Clause B. Dissolve her claim. I want every single dollar, every brick, every share of stock. I want it all moved out of her name." "And where," Harrison asked, "Do you want it to go?" I thought of Evelyn. I thought of her dream, not just to build wealth, but to build her community. "The Evelyn Thompson Community Trust," I said. "Change its charter. I want it to become the Evelyn Thompson Scholarship Fund. Every penny. For the children of Bronzeville. For kids who want to go to college, who want to build something. For kids who deserve a chance." Harrison nodded slowly. A rare, genuine smile touched his lips. "I think she would have liked that, Zay. I think she would have liked that very much." "I know she would," I said. He and his team packed up. They left. I was alone, truly alone for the first time. I walked through my empty house. I saw the spilled milk on the floor, the pink bakery box, the extra coffee cups. I picked them all up one by one. I cleaned the table. I washed out my mug. I walked into my study. I sat at my desk. I picked up the small, silver-framed photo of Evelyn, the one from our 25th anniversary. She was smiling, her eyes so bright, so full of life. "Well, Evie," I whispered, tracing the frame with my thumb. "We did it. We did the right thing. It's just us again." I sat there as the sun climbed higher in the sky. I poured myself a fresh, clean, hot cup of coffee. I took a sip, and for the first time in as long as I could remember, I finally felt at peace. Here is a lesson we can draw from Isaiah's story. Isaiah's story is a powerful reminder to never judge a person by their simple appearance. His daughter and son-in-law saw only a broke old mailman, a burden to be managed, not the intelligent, powerful man who had built an empire in silence. They mistook his humility for weakness and his quiet life for failure. Their greed blinded them to the truth, and they walked right into a trap set by the very person they disrespected. They learned too late that true power doesn't always need to show off, and that family is not a bank account to be drained. What did you think of the way Zay revealed the truth? Let me know what you would have done in his place in the comments below.